We have the new Spike Factory Paragon in BTD6 called the Mega Massive Munitions Factory. We'll see how it changes with each degree, how it handles Elite Bloonarius, and how it does in freeplay. And at the end, we'll decide how strong it is. We'll start with how it looks every 20 degrees. At its lowest, degree 1, I was pleasantly surprised. It has the base of the perma spike, the purple and green coloring of the carpetus spikes, and the tubes and skull of the super mines. Already, it looks like a true paragon, and we haven't even gone into its attacks yet. Instantly, spikes grow all over the track that deal constant damage to balloons that pass through them, similar to the spirit of the forest. It puts down super spiked balls that repeatedly explode when balloons pass over them, and when they run out of pierce, they split into several spike piles. Additionally, it has two abilities. The first drastically increases its attack speed for a short time, and the second places several mines throughout the track. These mines are much stronger than the others, create massive explosions when hit, and also split into a few spike piles after exploding. On to the degree 20. Its tubes get a bit thicker, they get braced at the bottom where they connect to the ground, and it gets two tubes that point up towards the sky. The degree 40 changes the color scheme a bit. Instead of all purple, the tubes become gray with purple accents, and the spikes up top get much larger and darker. The degree 60 adds two more tubes pointed up, changes their color again, this time making them gray and red, and adds spikes to the tubes as well. The degree 80 adds much more red to the design, including adding red spikes to the tubes, changes the green skull to a red one, and adds green gears behind the skull. And the degree 100 stays the same. I put them side by side and could not tell a difference. Maybe I'm overlooking something, but it looks great either way. What surprised me though was the increase in damage. The degree 20 SPACT gun did about 1 million damage to the Ghost Moab, while the degree 100 did 2.4 million in about half the track and popped this new test balloon. I did not see that coming. But enough of Sandbox. On to fighting Elite Bloonarius with this new Paragon. We challenged him to a fight on Monkey Meadow and did the standard farming. We had a few marketplaces and a bank for the tier 1 fight, which we beat with a sticky bomb and glaive ricochets. We had a Minneapolis, a BRF, and Central Markets going into the tier 2 fight, which we beat with a Glaive Lord and Mad, and the tier 3 fight is where things got interesting. We were filling out the map with farms and grinding pops on our Spike Factory. We defended the rounds with a carpet of spikes and boomerangs, and while we popped the tier 3 boss with a Glaive Dominus, we put down a super mines to get more pops on our next Paragon. This popped it rather easily, but we had a huge save up for the next fight. The Mega Massive Munitions Factory is the second most expensive Paragon, coming in at 800k, second only to the Goliath Doom ship, so we have a ways to go. We sold the Glaive Dominus, made a massive Monkeyopolis, and filled out the map with BRFs. This gave us over $2.5 million to work with by the time the tier 4 boss came. We used all the Spike Storm abilities we had as he spawned to get a few more pops in our towers, and this let us build a degree 60 Spactagon. Bloonarius was right on top of him, and instantly he started doing millions of damage. Even without having time to pre-place mines, he was shredding the boss and all the balloons he spawned. It looked like this was going to be a pretty easy popping, but then we used both abilities. The faster attack speed was letting him blow through the balloons, and you could see massive chunks in damage every time one of his mega mines went off. And by the end of round 102, we popped Bloonarius. And that leaves us with just the tier 5 fight. I figured a degree 60 Spactagon is probably on the upper end of what people will be getting in boss events if you're building it for the tier 4 fight. So we left it here to see how it does against the tier 5. We had plenty of money to back it up with more, but we sold everything and tech botted this Spactagon to use its abilities as much as possible. I was excited to see how it would do since it had so many mines down, but then I remembered the recent change to bosses. Now all the spikes time out when a boss spawns to limit the insta-kills in ranked events. So as Bloonarius came out, all of his super mines exploded into purple and black spikes. It's still a ton of damage on the track, just not as much as it could have been. And these were either used or timed out before we even hit the first skull, so it was a huge waste of potential. Luckily, his attack speed ability was ready, letting us replace several of the mines before too much made it to the center. The balloon spawns were using all of their pierce pretty quick though, especially once we hit the first skull and more balloons came than normal. We were keeping up, but the spike piles were getting a bit thin. This got a little better as Bloonarius went around the first loop, and we used his attack speed ability again, refilling the center. But when Bloonarius went through the middle, he took a bunch of mines out with him. This did a ton of damage, bringing him down to about half health, but our spike count is low and Bloonarius is on the second loop, almost to the end of where our Factory can damage him. As he was nearing the end of this loop, we finished round 126, letting us use the attack speed ability again. It looks like we can only use this once per round, and this time it worked out perfectly. As he went below the Spectagon, we did tons of damage, even hitting the second to last skull, but the Bloons inside the fortified bads made it through. We just didn't have many spikes near the end of the track, so once they got past our Paragon, it was pretty free. Don't worry though, we ran it back with Geraldo and had a degree 100 Spectagon up and running for the tier 5 fight. Not the most realistic for boss events, but I wanted to see how it'd do. Going into this, we had way more spiked balls down. Either it has more attack speed than the degree 60, or more of them survived the rounds because less were needed to pop the balloons. Either way, the first half of the track was covered in black and purple nails when Bloonarius spawned, and we refilled the balls quickly with his abilities. Instantly, we could see the increase in damage. I knew it'd be big, but this was crazy. Not only was he melting Bloonarius, but way less of his spikes were needed for the balloon spawns, letting us constantly have a good amount of spikes in reserve. We got to refill our spike piles a bit when Bloonarius was up top, and this let our Spectagon absolutely shred the final few skulls when he came back in range. A dominating victory for the new Paragon, and it was fun to watch. I mean, some Paragons don't look like they're doing as much damage as they are, but this one made it look like he did all 65 million damage, which you love to see. But that leaves us with just one more test, the solo free play run that we do with every Paragon on this channel. We booted up Cubism and made a degree 100 Munitions Factory on round 109, and to keep things consistent between Paragons, we gave him a tech bot. As you could expect, nothing made it too far. These spikes that grow on the track can pop anything weaker than super ceramics before they even get on screen, and not even walls of ZMGs were getting through the first spiked ball. We'll fast forward to round 140 where, the fortified bad layer popped off screen. I don't know if we somehow had a spike up there or what, but the normal bad that followed made it to the center, so something funky happened. Either way, the normal bad didn't make it past the first spike, so I think we're good for a while. Eventually, the balloons started making it into the track though, like in the 160s where they'd routinely make it to the spike factory. He'd always catch up on them when either of his abilities were used, but it was undeniable that the balloons were getting further. This continued to the 190s where the balloons made it to the turn for the first time. Round 192, several bads and ZMGs went all the way around the first triangle, taking out most of his spikes in the middle of the map. And unfortunately for us, this was kind of the new norm. While not every round made it this far, it wasn't out of the ordinary for balloons to get around this triangle. This made me scared for round 200, but we actually did pretty well. These fortified bads are usually run enders or very difficult, but we popped them around the same spot as previous rounds. But from here, we'll be facing fortified bads all the time, and the balloons get faster and stronger. I'm talking plus 2% speed and plus 35% health of their base stats with every round. As the balloons got further and further, we got more and more reliant on the Spectagon's second ability. These mines that get placed throughout the track deal massive damage, and once the balloons get through the middle, we needed them to clean up. This would normally give us the time to place down a few spiked balls for the next round, but the balloons kept getting through. And on round 231, several blimps leaked. Even with us using both abilities, we weren't able to hold off this round. But a score of 231 is amazing, even beating out the Goliath Doom ship that made it to 202. Overall, the Spectagon seems very strong and deserves its high price tag. It dominated free play, has a great design, and did well against the boss. The only downsides are that its mines explode at the start of each tier, limiting its damage right off the bat. And it's pretty tough to grind pops on this factory. Sure, you can defend with a carpet of spikes or a super mines, but it doesn't have a cheap way to either generate money or defend the rounds. If you can get around that hurdle though, it seems like a very strong addition to our Paragons.